9 assists. Kawhi had 34. Pascal Siakam had 16. Nolan Powell, I think his name is Norman Powell, had 16. Serge Ibaka had 13. Aaron Gordon had 25. And Evan Fournier had 19 when you go to the Magic side. But this is Toronto's series right here. There was no way, no how that they should lose this series. They're up with this many games. At this point, they just need to go ahead and close it out. Go ahead and take care of business. Don't allow any room for Orlando. And also, you can get yourself a breather. Give yourself a breather. You can come back strong the next series. The other series, OKC and Portland. What's going on with OKC? Why can't they put it together? I continue to ask myself that question. Portland up 3-1 now. And guess who's not talking that much trash? Obviously, Russell Westbrook. After the game, he's talking about no comment or next question. Westbrook sounded a little sulky, a little salty. But Portland ends up winning that 111-98. Dame Lillard went 15 for 24. Dame with 24 and 8. Paul George almost had a triple-double, 32, 10, and 6. Blazers looking to wrap up that series on Tuesday. That to me just shows you, though, that there is more to the Blazers than meets the eye. There is more to the Blazers. This is not just a team with Dame Lillard and a bunch of other guys, because they continue to play. They continue to play better than what I've projected them at, and possibly what a lot of people projected them at. But they continue to do their thing. They continue to play good team basketball. They continue to win the games. And OKC is not looking even like a match. They're not even looking close to competition for Portland. So my question is, where does OKC go from here? You have Paul George. You have Westbrook. Where do they truly go from here to try to have a successful opportunity to do anything in the playoffs? That is my biggest question mark team. I would probably say in the whole Western Conference. Like, what do you do? You think, you've been able to make the addition and convince CP and Paul George to stay, but now it's like, where do you go from here? What's the next step? Mo Cheese says, so how long before Westbrook becomes the fall guy for OKC's failed ability to get over the hump? I think people are already putting him in that category of him being the fall guy. My other question is Westbrook going to be loyal? How long is he going to be loyal to OKC? That's my question, which I've mentioned this before. I thought maybe he was going to leave after KD left, and it was him and like Oladipo, and I think Serge Ibaka was still on the team at that time. But I was wondering, like, how long is he going to stay? But Paul George there, that does kind of change this. Dennis should start at point guard and Russ should move to shooting guard, and that could be something that they should do. But I was expecting more. I mean, honestly, I was expecting a lot more from them. I don't really care about the seedings. I was expecting more out of OKC this year. Not for them to lose this series, which they're on the brink of losing the series. And they came into this series being the 6th seed. But again, I'm going to give more credit to Portland because I think Portland is really matching up and playing good quality basketball, and they got ballers on their team. If you look at the stat sheet, Aminu had 19, Harkless had 15, Enes Kanter had 10 rebounds, Dame had 24, McCollum had 27. Zach Collins had 10 off the bench. Now, you flip the script. Dennis Schroeder had 17. Westbrook had 14. Honestly, that's just not enough. Jeremy Grant had 11. Paul George had 32. So, I don't know. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do during this offseason and figure out where they're going to go from here. But they're pretty much on the brink of losing that series. And like I talked about in the opening, Boston closes it out against Indiana. With Indiana not having Oladipo, their chances of going beyond the first round was slim to none regardless. So I'm not surprised about this one. Celtics complete 6th 4-game sweep in franchise history with the win over the Pacers. I do think the Pacers were definitely a surprise team, though. I wasn't expecting the Pacers to be that good, especially with your star player going down. I mean, what can you truly expect out of a team when their star player goes down? But on the positive side, they made it to the playoffs. When I counted them out, and a lot of people counted them out, there's no such thing as a moral victory, but you got to be happy that your team still played well. They came together, and I think they have a lot to look forward to going into next year. So that is an exciting aspect of it that you can spin on it. But again, they did get swept, and that's an unfortunate situation for them. But they made it to the playoffs, so that's the bright side that they can look on. So that's what the NBA playoffs going on. Shout out to Courtney, the real deal. Mochi says, first point in the second half from Westbrook ain't going to get it. Yeah, that's just facts. If you are the number one, even if you're the number two, you gotta put in more than that. And that's the tough truth. That's the honest truth. Like I said, games on tap for tonight. Who do you guys have winning? Do you have these two teams closing it out? Milwaukee up 3-0, Houston up 3-0. So we'll see what happens there. I think the Jazz are going to get one. I think the Pistons have no shot, and they're going to lose. And we're going to have our second sweep. So that's going on right now in the NBA with the playoffs going on heavy. Coming up this Thursday, we have a very important day. A very important day in the NFL, which I'm pretty sure you guys are all familiar with this. It's called the NFL Draft, which is going to be going down on Thursday. This is when the NFL really kicks into gear. You get to see who's going to go where. You get to see what's going to happen. And here in Dallas, they're going to be having some activities down at the Star, the Cowboys practice facility. So I'm going to try to go through there on one of those days. We're going to have NFL players there, Cowboys players there. So I think that's going to be interesting. But there was a story that came out saying, and this is a rumor, obviously, but Kyler Murray won't be taken at number 1 by the Cardinals. I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. Also, there's further story that the Raiders in Gruden is more so interested in Kyler Murray than he's interested in his own quarterback, which I'm not necessarily surprised about that because he's already been talking about his googly eyes that he has for Kyler Murray. But John Gruden and Derek Carr will come to an end. This is a story by ESPN. It might not play out during this year's draft. So it's kind of intriguing to see how this all pans out because you got a story saying that the Cardinals don't want Kyler Murray, but I haven't heard anyone from the Cardinals organization, specifically Kingsbury, say that. So I think this could just be like a smokescreen type of story because if you look at last year, there was no really the hype started on the day of the draft with Baker Mayfield. It wasn't really early on that people were talking about him going number one, but he ended up going number one. But I think that was more so on that day that story really started blowing up. So I think Kyler Murray can still go number one. But you got the Cardinals 1, you got the 49ers 2. The 49ers already have their quarterback, and Garoppolo. The Jets already have their quarterback, and Donald. So if Kyler doesn't go 1, then he probably will go 4, because 4 is the Oakland Raiders. I don't see him dropping beyond 4 though, because if he does, then Tampa Bay, they already have a quarterback. The Giants been heavily on Dwayne Haskins, so I don't know where he would go from there. But I think he's going at 1 or 4. The story could possibly just be a smokescreen. My pops in the chat room says, if you look at Westbrook's left leg, it doesn't go all the way straight. I think his knee surgeries are affecting his shot, and Dame Time is demanding some respect. That is true. Both teams will close it out tonight, says Courtney Harden. Thursday night is Avengers Endgame. Mochi says, agree. Charles Barkley pointed out something important. Dame was playing his game, and Russ seems to be competing against Dame. Great point, Mochi's. If he falls, Gruden will take him. That's what I'm thinking too. Because if he doesn't go at 1, we're back to Kyler Murray talk. If he doesn't go at 1, he's not going at 2 to the 49ers. He's not going at 3. So, bam. He will go at 4. That means Derek Carr is going to be on the trading block. Well, which I don't really think that's fair to Derek Carr, but at the end of the day, it's a new regime in there, and this regime, they're blowing everything up. So Derek Carr has got to go if they're trying to blow it up, manage the money, and not be involved with his long-term contract, really. Pop says Houston's going to sweep Utah. Mitchell needs some help. Yeah, he does. I think they're going to get 1 tonight, though. And if you miss the Good Friday show, none other than Ben Sutter Jr. was on the show. My pops was on the show at the beginning, so go back and listen to that on X Squad Radio. We had a great conversation, so you can hear where I get all this sports passion from. So that's one story. Another story is the Seahawks are saying Frank Clark, if anybody wants to trade for Frank Clark, they must include a first-round pick. When I seen that story, I was like, wow, is Frank Clark truly worth a first-round pick? Are teams really willing to give up a first-round pick for Frank Clark? Now, I know he is a top pass rusher in the league that is highly coveted. He had 13 sacks last year, but 13 sacks does not equal a first-round pick. I'm sorry. So Seattle, I don't know what their thinking is. I don't know if they're just trying to put that out there and see if somebody bites on it. But to me, I would not give up a first-round pick for Frank Clark. He's not a bad player. He had 13 sacks, but 13 sacks to me is not enough to warrant you giving up a first-round pick. So that's where the Seahawks are. And I'm very, very intrigued to see if a team bites on that and gives them a first round pick. I'm very intrigued to see how that all goes down. And they just paid Russell Wilson, which I'm not surprised there. As much as they were talking about, they didn't want to. We don't want to say we don't want to negotiate with players during season or whenever before their contract's up. That means nothing when it comes to your star quarterback. You can throw all of that. You can throw all of that jazz out the window because none of that matters when it comes to your franchise quarterback. You will negotiate with him whenever he says you will negotiate with him. And that's basically what that came down to. you don't tell Russell Wilson when you're going to negotiate with him. He's